So this is my new main camera. Can you guess which one it is? I actually taped over the ident. So I bought a new main camera. And in this video I'm gonna explain why, my reasoning, how I do research when I'm about to buy a new camera, how I think about the budget for the new camera, where I buy my new camera, if I buy it used or not. All of these things I'm gonna cover in this video, so maybe possibly it could inspire you when you are about to buy a new camera. Some people might think that I consider my OM1 my main camera, but I don't. My OM1 camera I love a lot, and I consider it the best camera for focus stacking in macro photography, but I do other kinds of photography as well, and sometimes I do macro photography when I'm not out to do focus stacking, and then I prefer to use a Sony full frame camera, so that tends to be my main camera. And up until now I've been using the Sony A9 Mark II. I've been using it for macro photography, street photography, event photography and such things, and I've really loved that camera. But now with the recent success of my books, my macro photography handbook and my macro editing handbook, I actually earned some extra money, and I thought I would celebrate by upgrading my Sony A9 Mark II and get an even better camera. The Sony A9 Mark II, I bought it used for around $2,000 on MPB, and I was really happy with that purchase, and it's a lot of camera for your money. What I loved the most about the Sony A9 Mark II was the high resolution viewfinder, really pleasant and nice viewfinder, and I love being able to assess my photo already at the scene to see if it was good or not. And then a high resolution viewfinder is really important to me. Actually, I think it's the single most important feature in a camera for me, having a great viewfinder. And I also loved the ability on the Sony A9 series to shoot completely silently. They have a stacked sensor, which means that you can shoot with electronic shutter without any sound at all and still get nice photos with no rolling shutter at all. That is something that you get with the Sony A9 cameras, and that is why I love that camera so much. So this is my new main camera. Can you guess which one it is? I actually taped over the identifying features because, I don't know, I don't like to show off. I don't like people to see exactly what camera I have, because maybe that can invite some thieves, possibly. Nice thing with Sony's full frame cameras is that they all look the same, so it's impossible to see whether this is the cheapest one or the most expensive one. Anyways, I've always been attracted to the Sony A1, and yes, the Sony A1 Mark I is my new camera. I bought it used, and let me explain why. I've been attracted to this camera because it has the best viewfinder in the world, basically. The 9 megapixel viewfinder of the most expensive Sony cameras. And now after trying this camera for a couple of weeks, I can really attest that it is an amazing viewfinder. It's so much detail in there. It's so easy to see whether you actually got a good photo or not. It's so easy to see how the photo will actually look. When I get home and look in my computer, I can get a really good preview with this super high resolution viewfinder. It's such a joy to use it. So if only it were for the viewfinder itself, I would find this upgrade actually worth it, to me at least. And that's the thing, like, everyone has different needs and different priorities when it comes to purchasing a camera. So you need to think about what's important to you when you're looking to buy a new camera. What features do you want to prioritize, and look for a camera that can fulfill those at a good price. Another nice thing with the Sony A1 is that it has a 50 megapixel sensor, so it's a higher resolution than the 24 or so that I had on my previous A9 Mark II. And previously I didn't really want a high resolution sensor. I figured it only wasted space on my hard drive, but after trying the Fujifilm 100 RF, I actually realized that it can be very nice with a high resolution sensor, because you can use a small prime lens, such as this one, the Samyang 35mm, like super tiny lightweight lens. And then you can actually use that lens as a zoom lens by having a high resolution sensor and cropping in. It's so nice to be able to crop in a lot and still maintain lots of resolution. So actually the Fujifilm 100 RF changed how I think about high resolution sensors. Now I don't think it is necessarily a bad thing, it can actually be a good thing, and 50 megapixels as the Sony A1 has, I think that's the sweet spot for me. Another thing that is better on the Sony A1 compared to the Sony A9 series is that the dynamic range is better. The dynamic range on the Sony A9 is not bad, it's actually quite good, but it is not as good as on the best Sony full-frame sensors, such as the Sony A7R5 or the Sony A1. The dynamic range is slightly better, and that's nice for someone like me who likes to do a lot of changes in the shadows and the highlights in post and like really squeeze out the most out of my raw files. It's nice to have that ability, and it's nice to have the top of the line dynamic range that you can get in a Sony A1. And the final reason why I felt compelled to buy the Sony A1 right now is that if you buy it used, you get really good value for money. I bought this Sony A1 Mark I used on MPB for 4,000 euros. And while that is a lot of money, it's still a lot cheaper than what this camera cost only a few years ago. And actually, if you're looking to buy the newest version, the Mark II of this camera, it costs, at least in my country, around 9,000 euros new, which is crazy. It's actually not that much better than this one. They are almost identical in most aspects, while this camera you can buy it used, but as you can see in mint condition, like in really good condition. It's hard to tell that this is a used camera for only 4,000 euros. So I think it's actually great value for money right now. This camera was released 4 years ago, but it still feels very new in all aspects. It has that top of the line super good Sony autofocus, not the latest version, but still like a version that is so close to the latest version that I don't think you would notice much of a difference. So you might ask, why don't I just buy the Sony A7R5, which has an even higher resolution sensor at a lower price? The reason is simply that I enjoy the ability to shoot silently too much. The sound of the shutter of the Sony A7R5 is quite loud. The same goes for the Sony ACR, which is a more compact version of that camera. And for me, it's really nice to be able in some situations, for example, event photography, street photography, to just be completely silent, to be able to shoot a lot without anyone hearing the shutter sound. It's so nice to have that ability. And actually what I discovered with the Sony A1 is that they have this new shutter that I think it's only available still in the A1 series, that is a mechanical shutter that is actually a lot more quiet than the previous ones. Listen to this. This is the mechanical shutter. So even if I use the mechanical shutter, it is so much more quiet than the mechanical shutter on any other Sony full-frame camera. So that is a nice thing as well, I think. Like even if I use the mechanical shutter, it is very quiet. Finally, I wanna talk a little bit about my experience buying this from MPB. This is not a sponsored video, by the way, from MPB. I just wanna talk about my overall experience using them. I was actually disappointed because I bought this camera in a condition that's called like new, which is supposed to be the very best condition, like mint condition. And in the pictures of the unit I bought, it looked fine. But then when I received it at home, I was very disappointed because actually the grip was a bit loose, like the rubber grip on the camera was a bit loose. And that is, if you ask me, pretty far from like new. My first thought was that, okay, I will simply just get some super glue or something and just fix it myself, because I don't want to do a return and go through all that. But then I did some research. I asked ChatGPT about it. I looked in some forums, and apparently it's really easy to mess up your grip even more by using super glue, because the super glue, it's too rigid. So you're supposed to get like some special glue, and apparently it's really hard to get the exact right glue to fix this problem in a good way that doesn't make it worse. So after studying this for a bit, I was like, oh, I don't want to take any risks with a camera that is this expensive. I'll just make a return. So I emailed MPB, told them about the problem, and they very swiftly made a return, sent out a new camera for me. No questions asked. I was very happy with the customer service experience. This actually make me feel like I want to order more stuff from MPB in the future, because this experience when I got a bad unit was so good. They quickly sent me a new one. This one does not have that problem. The grip is nice and the camera feels really brand new. So super happy with the overall experience, even though I had to wait like a week more to get the new replacement unit. So now I can't wait to go out and do photography with this camera. I tried it a little bit and I really love this camera. I really love it, especially the viewfinder. Such a nice shooting experience. So yeah, I just want to tell you about it, because I know that I will get questions about this camera when you see it in my future videos. I thought, let's just make a video about the camera right away. They tend to get quite a lot of views. You guys like me just love gear, don't you? Thanks for watching. See you soon again. Bye.